So Tom, Elon Musk sends a tweet out. And somebody asked him, David Lee on December 24th, asked him a question. Says, personally, I think Elon Musk is the best investor of capital and innovator at scale in our generation. That might be an understatement. Kyle, if you have that tweet, if you can pull it up, that might be an understatement. This is an opportunity to create a structure that would optimize his time and interest the most, right? And then Elon Musk responds saying, engineering, design, and general company operations absorb vast majority of my mind and are the fundamental limitation on doing more. Capital allocation is important, but low CPU load, Tesla public company duties are much bigger factor, but going private is impossible now, parentheses, sigh, okay? Yes, sigh. Now, while you're looking at this tweet with what he says, what it does to Tesla stock, Tom is going to give us an update on that. Here's what ends up happening. GM's $27 billion electrical bet begins with Bad Boy Hummer truck. The giant automaker plans to push out 30 electric vehicles by 2025 to take on market leader Tesla Inc., starting with the two most iconic brands at the top of its roster, Cadillac and Hummer. GM is spending $27 billion in an all-out effort to remake 40% of its lineup and retool one-third of its U.S. vehicle assembly factories, putting it in a one-way path to electrification. Tesla is aggressively building more production around the globe. The president-elect Joe Biden and other political leaders elsewhere are pushing more EV-friendly government policies that will help plug-ins as sell. Like Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Barra has an advantage over rivals such as Ford Motor Company, Volkswagen AG, plentiful supplies of its own batteries, co-developed with partner LG Chem Ltd. Anyways, this is going to talking about who can potentially compete. GM is also boosting that truck will go 450 miles before needing a chart. Tom, what happened when Elon Musk sent this tweet out on Christmas Eve?
Well, the stock went up because everybody's like, oh, he's never going to take it private. So it was kind of the opposite of that thing.
Yeah.
Ready to go private. Funding secured. And the Security Exchange Commission said, all right, buddy, pull over. License and registration, please. You know, and what nuts. What I think people forget is he is still the leader in EV. Monstrous leader in EV. You know, he has 80% market share in the United States. So all these great big articles about GM and everything, GM's a very capable company. They're giving up Cadillac and Hummer, high-end cars that are very expensive. There she is. That's Mary Barra. What she was saying right there is, dear God, please make my stock go up when I say the word electric. Dear God, please make my stock go up.
Did it help him?
No. It was kind of like a rosary. She just kept repeating, and it didn't really help at all. Okay. She's stuck at $60 billion in market share, which they sold about Here's an interesting stat. They sold like 8 million cars this year, approximately, and at $60 billion market cap, that's about $7,500 a car.
So you got to say that one more time. So they sold 8 million cars in 2020.
Correct.
And then market cap is $60 billion.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's about $7,500 per car if you just use that as a measure. And if you contrast that with Tesla, which is $600 billion market cap,
this is crazy.
And they sold about 435,000 cars this year. If it wasn't for pandemic, they would have touched 500,000 cars this year. So that's $1.4 million per car sold. So in terms of future value and what people think, Elon Musk is 2 universes ahead, but GM's going to catch up. They're going to catch up and figure it out. And, you know, the Model S is old. It's 8 years old, but it's nice. So Elon Musk is about to be in a more, going to go from the leader status to a guy that's got other sharks in the same pool with him. But I don't bet against him. But this feels a little bit to me like The Empire Strikes Back. Like, here comes the second chapter of the movie is what I feel like is coming. You know, GM only sold 110,000 cars this year. That's 1.4%. Yet this is their website. And you look up there, GM's path to an all-electric future. Never mind, 98.6% of our cars still use dead dinosaurs. So it's...
Is this fear? Is this strategy? Is this urgency? Is this the right strategy? What would you say about this?
I think it is... I think it's fear and urgency right now, and I think they're trying to move their stock and they're trying to get out in front of it. I do think it's fear and urgency right now because Tesla, you know, is ahead. But the one that I would fear if I was Elon Musk, not fear, but keep an eye on, is GM because of the battery supply chain. Because right now, the battery pack of the car is still more expensive than the internal combustion engine. Still more expensive.
Interesting.
Those lines will cross. We know they cross with volume. Today, you know, LED lights, very environmental and everything, and nice light in your house, use a lot less energy. You can go buy a pack of 10 for about $40 at Home Depot now. You just go back 8-9 years ago, a single LED light bulb was like $50. And now you're buying them in super packs. The same thing's going to happen to batteries. And when those lines cross, people like GM are going to get volume on their side and push. So he's got to put out new cars. He's got to keep driving.
Tom, let me give the math one more time what you just said. This is very important. I don't know if you guys caught this or not. Did you guys catch what the math he gave? Or okay, so pay very close attention to what Tom just said. GM sold 8 million cars. 8 million cars. Not 800,000 cars. 8 million cars. Yep. And their market cap is $60 billion. If you take $60 billion, you divide it by 8 million, Tom's getting $7,500 they're making. Okay?
This year, right.
This year. Now, if you take, is 7,500 or 75,000, Tom? Is it 7,500?
7,500.
If you take Tesla's market cap, $600 billion, but they only sold 435. So GM sold 8 million cars, they're worth $60 billion. Tesla sold 435,000 cars, they're worth 10 times more, but they sold 20 times less cars. And if you break down the $600 billion by how many cars they sold, the average car they sell is $1.4 million profit to them. You got to understand how this market is right now saying what Tesla's worth. So here's what I read about an article Tom wrote yesterday on vtpost.com. Wells Fargo is saying Tesla is about to be the next AOL in 2021. This is Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is not a small little company. Wells Fargo says Tesla's about to be the next AOL. So either the market is infatuated with the CEO and they're making the value of this company go to where it's at today, or Tesla's about to be the AOL. Which one is right?
Well, he is a rock star.
Okay.
And that is a big, big part of it. And you know what? I think a lot of attention gets placed on this because we're so sick of the negativity, all the other news, the coronavirus, you know, the warring factions between the Democrats and the Republicans. I think some of this, he gets so much publicity. Can he be oversaturated pretty soon? I mean, can he be overexposed? Sometimes I think there's almost too much Elon Musk, but the guy is so brilliant and he keeps delivering. I will say this. I've never been an electric car guy. You know, and I'm not really a car person, but you know what? Yesterday...
Have you ever owned one or
no?
not?
I'm not. Okay. But I live in California, which is the home of it, where everybody has one.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I have a diesel SUV. And there's one gas station I can go to where in California, it's $3.33 per gallon as opposed to $3.63 a gallon. So I drive there. And yesterday I'm thinking, I just spent 25 minutes of my day going out of my way to this gas station so I could save 30 cents on completely overpriced gas the way it is. I want to get an electric car. I went to the mall because I had to, you know, one day over the holidays. All the good parking spots are electric. They literally build the infrastructure of parking lots right now for you to charge your car. Office buildings, where my office is in LA. I mean, you want the best primo spot, it's where the electric hookups are. And you know what? I'm in. And I think this is the next arms race. I mean, that's why Apple's involved. This thing is going to get crazy because the whole world is going to want and need an electric car. And I'll make one last point. You know who should go into the electric car business? Not saying it's easy, but should? Exxon. Right? Why can't they spend, you know, $500 billion in research and development and come up with their own because they're not going to sell any gas?
That would be hilarious if Exxon went into the car business.
Okay, I have been holding my tongue for a minute, but for Wells Fargo, I have no love for Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was the nice bank that opened extra credit cards and extra accounts for you without telling you about it, suffered a huge federal, and they lost their CEO and criminal charges were filed. So I think that there's a bit of, overreaction there. Does Tesla kind of come back to earth a little bit on this valuation over time? Sure they are, but I don't bet against the entrepreneur and pardon the expression, the engine that is in Elon Musk's heart. He's not just going to sit by and let it happen. We're going to see, remember we thought that the lineup of cars was getting boring. And Elon Musk kept saying, boy, our car's getting kind of boring. We got to do design things. He was saying that for 3 weeks. Remember that? Remember what he did? He goes on stage with this incredible weird truck announcing the Tesla truck. And it's like, oh, okay, the super truck. And I'm moving to Austin. So he knows what he's doing. He's got a whole funnel of things to do. One thing I would say is what you're talking about moving over to energy. I saw a list of the plug-in infrastructure players, And the number 2 ranked on number of new parking spots installed is BP.
British Petroleum.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this part of my arm, from my elbow to my fingertips, is doing electric. The rest of my body, BP, is still selling diesel, natural gas, and stuff. What was interesting, you and I both know a guy, EV Connect in Los Angeles, Jordan Raymer. We were in a CEO council together. Remember, Jordan Raymer, EV Connect. He was out there making infrastructure. As an entrepreneur out there, becoming a reseller of energy and building the infrastructure so that a mall could put in the parking spaces. And he was trying to convince people, don't just make it a benefit for the top 3 spots, because the first spots were for handicap, and then we have pregnant mothers. Socially really good ideas to do that. And then we put the EVs up there. Now, wait a minute. There's nothing wrong with someone driving an EV, but they get to be closer. And Jordan Raymer went out there with this dream. He just said, hey, I think we should build entire parts of parking lots and everything. And so I think there's a lot of entrepreneurships going on there that it's only going to help. But I'm not betting against Elon Musk.
Pat, I'll make this comment, and I'll be interested to see your reaction to it. I think some of Elon's competitors see a vulnerability with him. And here's what it is. He runs 2 other businesses. He has SpaceX. He has that boring company that's building the tunnels in LA and Vegas and everything. And he moved to Austin. So his companies are in California, and he's over here. Do you think he's minimized by the fact that he's the CEO of these huge, globally changing companies? Something's going to suffer. And I would imagine a smart guy like a Tim Cook and the people at GM and their competitors are thinking, there's part of his day every day he's not devoting to Tesla. And does he have enough of an army behind him to make up for he's the man running the show?
So years ago, Elon, I think, has got 4 or 5 kids. He's got a good amount of kids. I don't know the exact number, but he's got 4 or 5 kids. And I think he wrote about it in an article written by Neil Strauss. Very lengthy article, great article written about him when they were doing an interview. And one of the reasons why he decided to, go be single is he wanted to marry his career. Now, he does his best to be a father, but he doesn't want to have any kind of full commitments. He definitely wants to be in relationships and not, but he wants to be able to commit to his businesses. His babies are the companies he runs. He treats his companies like his babies. That's where he's at. I remember one time I sat down with former CFO of AIG, okay? And him and I were having dinner. You weren't there. We were in Ritz-Carlton, Chicago, and he's sitting right next to me. And this is when they went and got the money from the government, $183 billion. And I said, so, tell me about yourself. He says, well, I do this. I said, how many kids you got? He said, I don't have any kids. Really? You're not married? I said, no, I'm married. How long you guys been married? We've been married for 25 plus years. How come you don't have any kids? My wife and I made a decision a long time ago that our babies was going to be our career. We were going to dedicate that energy into our career, not kids. And we felt kids were going to take time away from our career. Now, think about, you have kids. Mm-hmm. You have kids.
Yep.
I have kids. I got an 8, 7, and a 4, and 1 on the way, right? You got Dash and Ivanka. You got Brooke and Bailey, right? Mm-hmm. How many total hours has been put into those kids? Actually think about it. I want you to actually think about it. How old is Bailey? How old is Brooke? How many total hours of your time have you put into your babies? Don't say I would not replace it. I'm not talking about that. No. I'm just asking you. Think about how many of your life hours was put into your kids. Diapers, park, picking them up, dropping them off, talking to them, sitting down. Everything's going to okay. How many hours is that?
You can't even count them. Plus, I have a daughter named Brooke as well. She's just graduated from Pepperdine.
That's right, Pepperdine.
And she grew up in the Bay Area. All the time I flew back and forth.
How many hours?
I can't even count them.
I want you to think about it. Yeah. I'm trying to think about it. If you were to think about it, put the hours. What do you think that hours is for you? Is it in the tens of thousands?
Yes.
Is it in the thousands? Okay. So if you have those tens of thousands of hours that you put into your kids to put into something else, how would they do? So you have to understand the fact that the part about putting time into his babies, I think he's got plenty of time to do it. I don't think that's a challenge for him to do. Now, as far as him being exploited and can they get to him and all this other stuff, when you're going into the NBA, there's a couple different kind of players. You go into Major League Baseball or NBA, there's a couple different kind of players. There's players that want to play with who? Michael, because they're enamored by it. Like, you know how when Jordan came back and he went to the Wizards, the bench could never play. He says, my teammates wouldn't play because they would just stand there and not play defense and rotate because they were watching Michael. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm enamored by Michael. Play the damn basketball game, right? But there were also guys like Kobe coming out saying, dude, I'm not scared of you. You know, I'm coming for you. There's going to be people that are going to want to compete with Elon. That's just you know.
True. But wanting to compete with him and maybe not being that next level thinker and genius that he is, you're already starting behind the eight ball.
You are, but there's going to be somebody. The market tells us there's always somebody that comes out that wants to do something. It's just,
you know,
it's always been like that.
I also think Tesla has to stay cool. I'm not excited about a GM electric car. Now, I am excited about the Hummer that you had mentioned, that they're going to come out with a new Hummer that's going to be electric.
Why don't you talk about what they're planning on doing with Cadillac by 2025? This is a pretty strong statement made about Cadillac.
And I think it's a smart statement. And it comes out of this fact. Here's a simple fact for you. If you take away the federal subsidies and the discounts that are paid for our government on the cars, Tesla is not cash flow positive on each car. Think about that. Even at 500,000 cars a year, they're not cash flow positive. So we need these federal subsidies, green air subsidies, so that you can do this. That's number one, very important. GM knows this, and GM knows that because of batteries, the cars are going to be expensive for a while. So I think GM made one really very good strategic move in Mary Barra's announcement, where she was saying, please God, make my stock go up. And that is, they're sacrificing Cadillac as a gas brand. Cadillac is going to be an electric brand. It's more expensive. It's a higher price point. There's more features that are inside. So they're going to do that so that the brand and its cost lines up with the underlying more expensive costs to make an electric car. I think that's smart. And they're saying, hey, by 2025, Hummer is a cool announcement. Cadillac is more of a consumer
price point of Tesla-esque.
Move some volume.
People were willing to pay $80,000 to $100,000 for a Cadillac, but they're not for a GM.
So for every Hummer you sell, you'll probably sell 5 of those little CXVs.
I can see that. I can totally see that. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.